Man who arrived at the mountain monastery before sunrise was known, in the world he came from, as a successful CEO. His name appeared in financial journals, his face in interviews, his words quoted as strategy and vision. Entire companies moved at the speed of his decisions. Markets responded to his presence. People waited for his approval before acting. Yet as he stepped out of the car and the door closed behind him, none of that followed him inside the silence. The car disappeared down the winding road, leaving him alone at the wooden gate. The air was thin and cool. Pine trees stood without explanation. The monastery did not announce itself as important. It did not try to impress him. This unsettled him more than any negotiation ever had. He stood there for a moment, holding his coat closed, listening to the sound of wind moving through leaves. There was no urgency in it, no goal. A monk appeared at the gate, moving as if time had agreed not to chase him. The monk bowed slightly and studied the man without curiosity. "You have arrived," the monk said. The CEO nodded. He was used to being expected. "I was told the teacher would see me," he said. The monk smiled faintly. "He sees everyone." The CEO followed him inside. They walked along a stone path worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The CEO noticed how quiet his own steps sounded here, as though the ground absorbed them without comment. In the courtyard, an old Zen master sat on a low bench, scattering grains to birds that gathered without fear. The birds did not compete. They did not rush. They took what came and moved away. The CEO waited. Finally, the Zen master looked up. "You may sit," he said. The CEO sat. He spoke the way he always did, clearly, directly, efficiently. He explained that he had built much, that he had succeeded by every measure the world recognized, that he lacked nothing that money, influence, or discipline could obtain. "And yet," he said, "there is a constant sense that something is missing." The Zen master listened without reacting. "You believe something has gone wrong," the master said at last. "Yes," the CEO replied. "I've done everything right." The master smiled. "That may be the problem." The CEO did not understand this, but he did not interrupt. "You came here looking for happiness," the master continued. "Tell me, where did you last see it?" The CEO searched his memory. His achievements passed before him like numbers on a screen. "I don't know," he admitted. The master nodded. "Then you have been looking in the wrong direction." The birds flew away. The garden returned to stillness. The CEO felt, for the first time in years, that he was not in control of the conversation. And something in him both resisted and relaxed. The next morning, the Zen master gave the CEO a task. He handed him a large clay vessel filled with water. "Carry this," the master said, and began walking. The CEO followed. At first, the weight felt familiar. He was accustomed to carrying responsibility. He had carried companies through crises, people through uncertainty, himself through exhaustion. The path wound upward along the mountain. The air grew thinner. The silence grew louder. After some time, the CEO's arms began to ache. He adjusted his grip, tightened his jaw, and continued. After more time passed, his shoulders burned. His breath shortened. Sweat soaked through his clothes. Still, he did not stop. He believed endurance was virtue. He believed stopping meant failure. Eventually, his steps slowed. Finally, he stopped walking altogether. "What is the purpose of this?" he asked. The Zen master turned to face him. "When did the vessel become heavy?" the master asked. The CEO answered immediately. "It was heavy from the beginning." The master shook his head. "It became heavy when you decided not to put it down." The CEO looked at the vessel. His arms trembled. The master waited. Slowly, reluctantly, the CEO set it on the ground. Relief flooded through him, followed by something else, confusion. "You see," the master said, "you have confused responsibility with permanence. You carry yesterday into today, today into tomorrow." They walked back without the vessel. That afternoon, the CEO watched the monks work. They swept leaves that would fall again. They repaired walls knowing time would undo them. They cooked meals that would be eaten and forgotten. Nothing they did accumulated, nothing they did was optimized. Yet there was no tension in their movements. At evening, alone in his simple room, the CEO lay awake. Without screens, without schedules, without the noise that usually kept his thoughts from reaching him, questions rose. If he stopped striving, who would he be? If he released control, what would remain? For the first time, he saw clearly that his success had not removed fear. It had only given it something to protect. He slept poorly. On the final day, the Zen master invited the CEO to tea. They sat quietly before speaking. "Tell me," the master said, "what you believe happiness is." The CEO answered carefully. "Stability, security, freedom from worry." The master nodded. "And when have you ever had those completely?" The CEO paused. "Never," he said. The master poured tea. "Then you have been postponing happiness your entire life," he said. They walked to the garden again. Birds returned, as they always did. "They do not wait for certainty," the master said. "They respond to the moment." The CEO watched them. He noticed something subtle. The birds were not trying to be happy. They were simply not resisting where they were. "You believed happiness would come when you arrived somewhere," the master said. "But you have always been arriving." The CEO felt a quiet shift, not excitement, not relief, but clarity. He did not feel happier. He felt lighter. When he left the monastery, nothing in his life had changed outwardly. His companies still existed. His responsibilities still waited. But something essential had loosened its grip. He no longer believed happiness was missing. He saw now that it had never left. It had only been covered by the effort to secure it. As the car descended the mountain, the CEO looked out the window, not to think, not to plan, but simply to see. And for the first time in a long while, that was enough.